Welcome to Touching Stories Bed Channel. Watch this video and let us know your opinion about this story. Some stories never leave you. They settle into your bones, echo in quiet moments, and haunt the places where truth should have lived. The disappearance of 11-year-old Mark Himebaugh is one of those stories. A case that has lingered in the shadows for more than 3 decades. Unanswered, unfinished, and unbearably tragic. On November 25, 1991, in Middle Township, Cape May County, New Jersey, a bright, curious boy walked out into his neighborhood and vanished. Not into the woods, not into the marsh, not into some uncharted wilderness. He disappeared in broad daylight, in a community full of people, witnesses, and opportunities to intervene. Mark had been watching a bush fire near his home earlier that afternoon. Neighbors saw him. Adults spoke to him. People remember him standing near the scene, the flames reflecting in his glasses. He walked home for a short time, and then left again, heading toward the park. And then nothing. Silence. A void that has swallowed 34 years of truth. A case that should have been solvable. What happened to Mark that day should have been pieced together immediately. Witnesses described suspicious individuals. Composite sketches were drawn. Tips were reported. But the early hours, the most critical hours in any missing child case, were marked by confusion, missteps, and devastating oversights. Instead of a swift, coordinated investigation, the case splintered. Witnesses weren't fully pursued. Timelines were never cemented. Key leads faded into the background. And while time marched on, Mark's mother, Maureen Himebaugh, was left to live every parent's nightmare. The unending question of where's my child? Memory, truth, and the uncomfortable questions. For many who lived in Cape May County, New Jersey at the time, this case is a ghost that never settled. People remember where they were the day Mark vanished. They remember the composites, the red-haired man, the boys at the park, the rumors that rippled across neighborhoods. Some people remember more, connections, coincidences, and disturbing realizations that didn't make sense until years later. This story isn't just about a missing child. It's about the culture of silence that grew around the case, the people who had knowledge but stayed quiet, and the painful possibility that the truth was there all along, ignored, dismissed, or deliberately buried. Yet the public was originally given the impression that only one sketch existed, one man last seen with Mark. A man whom law enforcement believe is Thomas Butkavic. But that was not the truth. Subscribe, like, and share your thoughts. There were 3 different men at 3 different locations, seen with or near Mark that same afternoon. 3 separate sightings. 3 separate descriptions. 3 separate composites. This alone disrupts the long-standing belief that a single man acted alone. Instead, it raises deeply troubling questions about coordination, opportunity, and why these sightings were never publicly connected or treated with the urgency they demanded. Even though this happened 34 years ago, the men seen with Mark that day are still out there, living their lives, carrying their secrets. They must be located, identified, and questioned about what they know or what they saw in those final moments before Mark vanished. Time does not erase truth, and it certainly does not erase responsibility. This is exactly why the story must finally be told. Fully, honestly, and without the decades of silence that have protected too many people for far too long. The fight to bring Mark back into the light. 34 years have passed. Evidence has aged. Memories have faded. People involved have relocated, remarried, reinvented themselves, while Mark never got the chance to grow up. But the story is not over. Not for Maureen. not for those who lived through it, and not for those who believe justice was never fully served. To examine the overlooked pieces, the discarded leads, the connections no one wanted to talk about. To give voice to a boy who can no longer speak for himself. To highlight the witnesses and tips dismissed or ignored, and to finally confront the reality that someone knows what happened to Mark Himebaugh, and silence has protected them for far too long. Share your thoughts with us, what you think about the missing boy and how better investigators should have handled this case. Watch this space for The Missing Boy Part 2.